Good evening, and welcome to our YouTube channel Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Tonight we have episode 1 of The Island, with yours truly as the GM. Our story tonight is set in 1925. William Gusso and Bruce Taylor had been friends from college, and they had worked together on many projects. Taylor, an aspiring journalist, was hoping to gain the attention of National Geographic magazine by documenting some of the unexplored islands of the North Pacific known as the Caroline Islands. He brought along the best photographer he knew, which just happened to be Gusso. The island chain spanned nearly 2,000 miles and was comprised of hundreds of uncharted islands. They had arrived only yesterday on one of the largest islands, Ponape, and set up a base of operations in a small back room they rented from a large, plump native woman named Mama Awanda. Their task this morning was to find a pilot that could fly them on a tour of the surrounding islands and give Gusso a chance to take some aerial photos. And that's where we'll start.
All right.
So, whoops. Off a share with everyone. All right.
Mama Awanda. I like it.
Mama Awanda. She's a big woman. She tells you she has 15 children. And her husband's not there anymore.
Does book have like a really harsh accent?
She speaks English, but it's a pretty harsh accent. I don't honestly know what a Ponapean accent would be like. But
I did tiny bit of search in that local language. I think did I write it down? It's based on like a twisting of the English language.
Yeah, and I think that there's also a bunch of native languages. Polynesia has thousands of islands, and there's probably thousands of different little dialects for each island.
What's the weather like?
It is hot. It is hot all year round, between 73 low and 86 high. It's also very steamy, and it rains quite often.
Okay.
You get little showers in the morning and little showers in the afternoon, and then it'll get all hot and steamy during the middle of the day. So it's a nice island. There is no tourism yet. There is a small contingency of soldiers who are Japanese. They have an outpost. They took over the island a few years after World War I, and it's pretty much a peaceful island. There's not a huge population. The larger population is farther out in the islands to the west.
All right. So while Will is snapping photos, I'm going to be sitting down and writing pretty much what we're basically doing. Things that we've discovered. Just like basically keeping a journal of our travels.
Right, you probably carry the journal with you wherever you go, and
yeah.
And as I say, today you've gotten up, and Mama Awanda has fed you, and you guys need to find yourself a pilot to fly you out, and so that you can take a good look at the islands.
Okay, so I asked her if she would know any decent pilots that could take us up there.
She's like, "Oh, my darling, I have no idea." Good God, my accent. I have no idea. She says, but you go to the dock area, and I'm sure there's somebody with a seaplane. They bring all the mail to us by seaplane. They bring all of the food that we don't grow here.
How much would you have an idea of how much it would cost us?
No, not a clue.
Okay. All right. Well, Will, are you ready to set out?
Absolutely.
All right.
Excited to see what we can see from in the air.
Yeah.
I can show you this too. This is a map of the area. Actually, it's the map of Pacific Ocean. If you look on the map, you see the Hawaiian Islands up at the top, and then let's see, about what would that be, about 8 o'clock going down from there, you'd see the orange ones, which are, I think, the Marshall Islands, and then directly at 9 o'clock from there, you see the Federated States of Micronesia, and those are the Caroline Islands. And Ponape is that little star that's right there.
Okay.
This is a modern map, so they weren't the Federated States of Micronesia at that time.
Okay.
What, how would you describe, like, the people of the island? Like, is it kind of like rural, or?
It's very rural. However, they've become a fairly large mix of different races. The most common languages here now are Japanese and German, but there's little mixtures of all sorts of dialects from the different islands. Most of them are Roman Catholic now, having been converted years and years and years ago. I think that the first settlers, or the first white men, came here like in the 1600s, and looking for things like bananas and spices and things like that would make them all rich. So they did their best to exploit the islands.
But like still like what would be considered modern day technology for the 20s?
No, not much. Maybe on the military base, but most of the people are going to be living in more in what you would call a hut.
Okay.
They might be using wood, but wood is kind of expensive, and I mean, what they can use, they use their native materials. Still, it's got beautiful beaches, and it's got tropical fruit, and it's got the people are very friendly.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's probably a main dock on this island, so I'll probably should head there.
Yeah. So we head that way.
All right. Well, as you cross the sandy beach, you end up coming to the place where the dock is, and there's a few boats and a few sailing ships and things like that, loading and unloading. And there are a few docks that go out to seaplanes, maybe 3 different seaplanes. One of them there's nobody out there. The other 2 have people, either one guy looks like he's half taken apart one of the engines, and the other guy is sitting there actually like in a chair, eating a sandwich and drinking something, like he's on a break and smoking a cigarette.
All right, let's walk up to that guy.
Okay. He's a small Japanese fellow, and he sees you coming, and before you get to him, he stands up and says in Japanese, which I believe one of you speaks, what can I do for you?
I ask him in Japanese if he would be willing to take us on an aerial tour of the islands. And
he's like, where do you want to go?
We have a map, so I basically, or do we have a map?
There is no map.
Okay.
I mean, there's a map, but the map would only have the big islands on it.
Okay. Well, we basically, I tell him that we basically want to just fly around a bit, just to survey like the islands. We're basically creating a map of this place and or of these islands, and just need an aerial view. Of course, we'll pay for gas and pay for your piloting skills.
Well, he asks you the equivalent of roughly $30.
Yeah. Okay.
Which seems reasonable.
Yeah.
He says that his name. My name is Hiro.
Hiro. Okay.
So, he says, do you have anything you want to bring with you? You said you're a photographer.
Yeah, and of course, I know you know the area well, so if you have places in mind that would be picturesque or,
He says there's some beautiful islands to the south, yes.
Yeah, that would be fantastic if you could show us those.
So,
and I have everything I need. I have like I'll be walking around. I'll have like a leather satchel type of a thing, and have odds and ends like stuff that I would need for the day, water, canteen, and but my journal, my notes and stuff like that.
Well, let me also say that what you have found you find this to be a very peaceful island. The crime rate is almost nil because there's just nothing to steal, and the people are they don't think that way. They're good, honest Roman Catholic people, and they don't steal or do anything bad, except make lots and lots and lots of babies. No, that's very Roman Catholic, isn't it?
Yeah. Hey, Wayne, could you describe your character a little bit?
Okay, so my character, I would say he's about maybe 5'7". He's short, athletically built. That, especially since we've been traveling around for a while, we've been out in the wilderness before. He does rock climbing, that sort of thing, and he's a decent writer. I'm not going to say he's the best writer out there, but he's pretty decent.
Cool.
You've been published a few times, but nothing really big.
Yeah.
But you're good. You're good, and you're going to make it someday.
I figured my guy was very tall, athletic, about 6'3", skinny, but like wiry. Like those guys who don't look strong, but they're like strong as an ox, kind of like you can't move them.
Yeah.
That sort of guy. And just kind of laid back, almost in my mind, I have him kind of like a beatnik character, even though I know that wasn't until like the 40s or 50s. But just kind of like easygoing, and he's loving the whole island scene. That's right up his alley.
And sort of to like contrast him, my character he's not annoying, but he's more extroverted than your character. Your character is sort of laid back. He's more excitable, although right now he seems kind of chill. But when he gets around a lot of people, he's excitable. If we're going out, for an example, you might say, well, I just want to go home and just drink a beer or whatever, or have a smoke. And I'm like, no, we're going out. We're going to dance. We're going to meet some women, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it would seem like you're the talker and the documenter, and Gusso is the guy who photographs it all and observes everything. So
yeah,
you make a good team.
Very fitting.
Hopefully, National Geographic will think that too. So, anyways, you load on board. Now this is a seaplane. It's got two big pontoons on the bottom that sets in the water. The pilot sits up front, and there's only room for one. And then there's a couple of seats behind with windows. And the seats are one after the other. So you can't sit side by side. You have to sit next, one behind the other. And there's an area up in the front where, kind of in between the two, where there's kind of a rope netting that if you have any gear or anything, you put it in there so that if the plane pitches or rolls or anything, it's not going to fling the stuff all over the place.
Which area has the largest, I guess, window?
The windows are all exactly the same, and they're not huge. They're all about like that.
Okay.
But the glass is clean, so you can see out of it fairly well.
Maybe would Hero allow me to like open a door somehow and latch it open so that I could strap myself into a chair and kind of get some nice clear shots?
He says, "Wow, nobody's ever tried that before, but I mean, the plane will fly with the door open
Okay.
if you want to
Well,
try something."
how high? Well, he's not going up as high as commercial flights would. So
Well, no, he's probably going up, and he can fly low too if you want some really good shots.
Mhm.
okay,
He says, "I know what you'll like." He says, "We'll have a really good time." He says, "Now, we can fly out. We can fly for about 2 hours before we got to be back to refuel.
okay,
So we can either fly straight out for an hour and then straight back, or we can fly out for a half an hour and then fly around for an hour and then fly back. Whatever."
yeah.
So
Um,
I'll show you. There's lots of islands and they're very beautiful.
well, let's leave it up to you. I mean, you're more familiar of this area than we are, so we'll go by your lead. If you want to fly out for a half hour and take us on a sort of a little scenic route, that's fine with us. That's actually best for us. So
Hero seems like a really nice guy. He laughs a lot, and he thinks that it's very funny that one of you is short and one of you is tall. In fact, monstrously tall. He's never seen anybody as tall as you are, and makes the joke that it probably makes getting things off the top shelf very convenient for you.
it is. It is. We're saying this in Japanese too, by the way.
Right.
Right. So, anyways, you guys get stowed in, and the concept of safety probably wasn't very big. I'm not even sure if they had safety belts.
I don't know. I
But
know the cars didn't back then.
he kind of jokes with you that you could probably open the door and put your feet on the pontoon and sit there, and and wrap your arm. If you can use one hand to take pictures, you could wrap your arm through that netting that's there and get some really fantastic, lean right out and take some really fantastic
Just
shots.
don't drop the camera.
Don't
Right.
drop the camera, right? Because that would be hard to retrieve. That would be impossible to retrieve.
Maybe there's a
So
hunk
anyways.
of rope or something I could tie around my waist.
Well, yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, or a leather. I mean, a woven strap or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he says, "I'll fix you up so that it'll work."
Okay.
And anyways, so he starts up the engine and you take off, and you fly out, and the water is, people say the water is blue. Here, the water is kind of like an aquamarine. It's a bright greenish blue. And you can see that it's all varied in color because there are coral reefs all under the water. And
I know you're taking pictures of this, right? This would be
Absolutely.
excellent on National Geographic.
Yeah.
Very quickly, you start running across islands, big and small. They're all incredibly green. Some of them have beaches. Some of them have cliffs. Some of them have old extinct volcanoes. He flies you out to a place where there's a couple of theoretically active volcanoes that are belching out smoke, which he's careful to avoid, because that will actually stall the engine and actually even probably poison you all if you flew through that.
Mm.
But you fly out, and there are you're flying at one point, and he says, "Oh, look out here." He says, "I think that there are whales in the water," and you can actually see them from where you are up in the air. And
Nice.
so now you've sat on the edge, and you're strapped so that you can't fall out, and you're actually being a little reckless. You're really leaning out there because, like, when you see the whales, it's like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
These will be the shots that get you, famous in the thing. Do a dexterity roll.
Oh boy.
Yeah, sure. Let's start the game off with that. A 99.
Wow.
No, really?
Oh.
All right.
Game over. Roll a new character.
You're leaning out, and as you lean there, Bruce, you look over and you see that the strap that's holding him on the thing is rubbing up against a sharp piece of metal, and you can see that it's almost snapped through.
I try to go and.
So I'm going to give you. You can do a dexterity roll to see if you can grab it before it snaps.
Ooh.
That's a no. That's a no.
Okay. So just as you reach for it, it snaps and it slips right between your fingers, and Gusso, you start to fall out. And as you do, you grab a hold of the other side of the strap, and you fall out. Now, do a dexterity to see if you let go of the camera.
No. How high up would I be?
You're probably a couple of 100 feet up.
Because if it's something I feel like I could, like I would hold on to that camera like it was my life. But
right.
Let's see. Ooh. 74. I missed it by 4 points.
Okay, you come very, very close to letting go of the camera, and Bruce, you manage to scramble forward and grab a hold of him before he completely tumbles out, and you pull him back, and Will, you're lying on your back, and Taylor, you're sort of laying on top of him to hold him down, and Hero is just in hysterical laughter. And
I pat you on the chest. Careful, buddy. Careful, careful.
That gets the old ticker going.
And yes, the ticker's going. I'm not going to make you roll a sanity on that one, but you guys are definitely you're suddenly exhausted, so you want to sit down for a few minutes before you go on. Now, the last thing that you took a picture of as you were leaning out was an island, and I'll show it to you in a second. And let's see, where is it? You're about 100 miles south of Ponape, and this is what it looks like. And it's typical of every other island that you've seen.
Okay.
You can see that there's a reef going around it underwater. Part of the reef is sticking up. But just about the time that you're sitting back down in your chair, you suddenly hear Hero start to curse in Japanese. Son of a bitch, shit, fuck, whatever. You know, he's just, okay, like this. And I don't know how to curse in Japanese. Sakura. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all the Japanese people out there. But I know almost nothing in Japanese except what I got on Shogun. Anyways, he starts to curse, and the airplane starts to wobble.
Shit.
I just want to know what you guys do, because it seems like what he seems very upset and distressed about something.
I run up to the cockpit and I ask, "What's going on? What's wrong?"
He says, "Something's wrong with the electrical. It's something is shorted out," and he's banging on the console to try to get it to react. And some of the dials are working because they're basically attached to wires that are happening. But the altimeter is freaking out, and the compass is flipping, and he's trying to turn the radio on, and it won't come on. And
let's turn away from this island then. Let's try to move away. Maybe there's some sort of interference here. I don't know.
You mean like in Lost?
Yeah. Have you ever been this far out?
Oh, many times. Yeah.
Have you ever had troubles like this before?
he's too busy trying to get everything to start, and about that time the engine's cut out,
Ah, shit.
and the airplane starts to list forward and head down, and he's like, get back, go back to your seat, and hold on.
I'll close the door and try to strap myself into a chair.
Yep,
All right.
Same here.
So the airplane starts going down. Now it's not going down fast because it's gliding, but he's trying to bring you at least close to the island if you need something, so that you're not out in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And the plane comes down rather quickly, and he says, "Hold on, we're going to hit." And there's a little bit of a crunch sound, and you hit the water with a splash. It's not too bad. Go ahead and give me a dexterity roll to see if you hold on to your seats.
That's better. 15.
All right, so you hold on pretty tightly.
And it's a 10, so yeah.
All right, so you both are fine. The plane lands in the water and comes to a stop. You are just inside the barrier reef that runs around the island, probably about, I'd say 300 feet from a sandy beach. The airplane is stopped in the water, and Hero is cursing, and he's gotten down onto his knees, and he's reached up under the panel, and he's trying to find something, and he's like, "Gentlemen," he's like, "don't worry, we have plenty of fuel. All I've got to do is see what's wrong with the electrical and get that back up. The battery should be fine."
So
anyways,
the plane is just out here in the middle. You can't get it any closer to the island.
no, because it's just drifting. It's just sitting in the
Okay.
water. But the water is calm. You are inside of a barrier reef, so the water is almost motionless inside here. It's just very, very light, except for what the wind blows around.
Okay.
So anyways, Hero steps out onto the pontoon, and he works his way forward, and he opens up the engine, and he's fiddling around in there. What do you guys do?
I check on Will. You okay, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't have any skills, but I'll offer to help Hero if there's anything we can do.
Yeah, same here. Like,
Yeah, you probably don't know anything about repairing airplanes.
Right. No, not at all.
nope.
So you're sitting there for a couple of minutes.
I go up to Hero and I say, "Did you try turning it off and on?"
No. Reset the reboot the airplane.
Sorry.
There will come a day when somebody will say that in this game, and everybody will think, "Well, yeah, that's what you would do, right?" No, they're mechanical. All right. So Hero is actually now outside the plane, and he's banging on something, and he's pulling on something, and you're sitting there, and you're looking out the window. Let's see. Now the island, you have a different perspective. So now the island looks a little more like this. They say I found these pictures rather quickly, so they're not great, but so that's where you are now. You're actually closer to the island in that picture.
Okay. So I say, "Hey, Will, take a snap at this. First of all, let's make sure that camera of yours still works."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks good.
All right, so you snap some pictures. Just about the time you snap those pictures, the entire airplane lurches violently to the side, bang, like this, and you hear a splash outside, and Hero's not on the pontoon anymore.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. I run out to see.
I want you to do a quick, once again, a dexterity roll. Especially Gusso, to see if you drop that camera.
Ooh, look at that.
This time.
Yes, 50 out of 70.
All right, so you bang against the wall. You both bang against the wall of the airplane rather violently. Some of the stuff that's stored breaks loose and falls out, and the airplane suddenly starts to list to the side, as if, is it sinking? It feels like it's sinking. Maybe one of the pontoons ruptured.
Hmm.
Oh boy.
But you can hear Hero splashing outside, and he's like, whoa, 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 son of a bitch. So what do you guys do?
I head for the exit and I guess hop into the water and try to get as far away from the.
Well, as you get to the door, Hero's trying to climb up onto the pontoon in front of you, and he puts his hand up for.
I grab him.
For you to pull up, okay? You grab a hold of him. Now, as you grab a hold of his hand, out of the corner of your eye, behind him, behind Hero, you see this dark shadow coming up in the water, and suddenly the full front face of a great white shark comes out of the water, grabbing Hero and pulling him back into the water with Hero screaming.
Oh, man.
And the airplane is beginning to list more, and the water is nearly at the door, and will start pouring in just a second.
All right, so this is how our characters die.
Now, your plane has drifted a little. You're about 200 feet from the beach.
Yes, and I swim like a human, and that shark swims like a shark. Question: is there anything like any sort of blunt objects, like maybe a metal rod or something like that, that might have broken off?
There are a number of tools. There's actually a tool kit, kind of in that little cubby where stuff goes.
All right. I'm going to grab something blunt and heavy.
Okay. There's a hammer, but you also notice that there's a flare gun.
I grab the flare gun then.
Did either of you bring your weapons with you?
I have no weapons.
Ah.
I left mine back.
I'm a writer.
You probably did read it back. Yeah, why would you bring it?
Right.
All right.
I fight with my words and my pen, not with the guns. The pen is more mightier than the gun.
Okay, so you found a hammer. That's about the biggest, bluntest instrument. You now notice that there's red in the water, and they're splashing.
It's going to draw more of them. All right, well, here goes.
I don't know much about pontoon planes, but I'm wondering if one were damaged, would the other one still have enough floatability to keep the plane aloft, or would it actually sink?
Except that the plane would probably do this.
Right.
With the one pontoon.
Okay. And I'm also panicking to try and find something waterproof to put my cameras in. Maybe a cooler for his lunch.
I don't think they had such a thing as a cooler.
Toolbox?
Maybe the toolbox. I'm not sure it would be waterproof, though.
How big it would be.
In any case, while you guys are preparing to do this, the airplane lurches again, suddenly to the side. Got to do a dexterity roll. See if you. In the case of Bruce, it's to see if you get flung into the water.
And I make it.
Okay, you almost get flung out the door. Okay. How about you?
I failed it by 2 points.
Okay, you smash against the wall, and unfortunately your camera drops from your hand and hits the ground. You don't know how damaged it is, or if you crack the lens or anything like that. But you're trying to recover yourself at this point.
Mhm.
And the water is starting to come in that front door. What you notice, Taylor, is that the shark is attacking the airplane. He's attacking the pontoons. Do either of you have natural history? You can roll for that.
I believe I do.
I almost took that, but didn't. Natural world, I guess.
Natural world.
Yeah, I did not take that.
Yeah, I didn't take that either. I took history though. So let me see. Ooh, I didn't make it though. Jeez.
Well, it seems really weird to you that why the hell would the shark be attacking the boat? The airplane, sorry. In any case, he seems quite preoccupied.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's jump in the ocean and swim to shore as fast as we can. Come now. While he's distracted, and I hop in the water and start swimming.
So you splash really big when you hit the water?
Can I roll a dexterity for that?
Sure, you could roll a swim roll for that if you want.
Okay. Where did I put in the swim? Okay.
I knew I should have taken swim.
Ooh, and I make it.
Okay, well, you dive in very nicely and start swimming for the shore. And, Will, what do you do?
I am going to ungracefully get in the water, trying to hold the camera up.
Okay. That proves, well, I'm going to give you, go ahead and do a dexterity roll to see if you get that camera wet.
Ooh, 10.
Okay, well, you're managing to keep it out of the water. However, it's making it really hard for you to swim.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Bruce, you're almost halfway to the beach now. You also notice that the water is getting rather shallow. It didn't look that deep when you dove in. Maybe 15 feet below, deep where the airplane is.
Is that one of those optical illusions, like because the water's so crystal clear?
Yeah, the water is very clear. But you can see that it's going up to the beach. I mean,
okay.
The beach is just ahead.
Right.
So as you're swimming fine, but as you're swimming, you're now, let's say, about 50 feet from the beach. This is Bruce. You look back and you can see that fin coming up out of the water and starting to head towards Will.
Will!
So,
swim! Forget about the camera! Swim, you fool! Swim!
All right. As much as it kills me, I'll toss the camera and start swimming.
all right. You start swimming, and hold on. Let's see. It's my turn to do some rolls. All right. You start swimming, and it's one of those instances where you look back. This is Will. You look back, and you see the fin, and it's coming at you, and it's picking up speed, and it's one of those moments where the adrenaline hits you so bad you swear that you literally jump out of the water and run along the top of it to get the hell out of the water. It doesn't really happen like that, but somehow you pick up enough speed that that you catch up to Bruce as he's swimming, and by this time Bruce has realized that he can actually stand in this water. It's now only a few feet deep. And you're pulling yourself out of the water as Will is still swimming as one would in a swimming pool, and the shark is approaching, but there comes a point where the shark can't get any closer because it's too shallow, and you both pull yourselves up onto the beach, completely exhausted.
Yes.
And you once you're up on the beach, you just sort of flop onto the sand. The sand is hot and it's pretty dry, except for right next to the beach. And you see the shark circle around and head straight back towards the airplane. And the airplane is now sinking. The shark, you see the airplane lurch a few times back and forth to the side, and you hear the sound of crunching metal, and within 10 minutes the whole thing disappears underwater. You can still see it. You can't see it real clearly, but you can see that that's where it is over there. Now the only thing that still hasn't sunk are the two pontoons, and they're sort of floating up on at least what's left of them. They're not floating like they were before, but they've taken on water. So you are now on the beach. Stranded. Hero's dead. And there is a nasty shark between you and that sunken airplane. So, I would like you now to take your scratch paper, and you need to keep track of your constitution.
Oh boy.
Because
It's going to be those games. Okay.
So, what is the first order of business for you to do? What are you going to do after the initial shock has worn off and
and I would imagine I lost my journal as well, along with my satchel and canteen, all my little supplies.
do a dex roll? If it was on your person, do a dex roll and see if you lost it.
And I made that dex roll, so.
Somehow you managed to keep a hold of your journal. It was stuffed in a pocket or something, and it got soaking wet.
Yeah.
And you still have a pen.
Okay. All right. First order of business, being on this hot and dry island, surrounded by water that we can't drink, we need to find a water source.
Now let me describe the beach to you a little bit. The beach.
Can I interrupt? Sorry.
Yes.
At your discretion, Tom. When I said I tossed the camera, could I have kept it on me, like maybe the strap around my neck, sort of thing? So it's ruined, it's wet, but I would still have the film that I. If you say no, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I think you dropped it.
Okay, that's fine.
You didn't have time for any of that. You were scared to death of the shark. Okay, so the beach that you were on is about 100 yards from side to side. It's sort of crescent shaped, and in the middle of it, right around the center of it, it's about 30 yards to the tree line, and you can see that it gets narrower as it goes in either direction. There are cliffs on the. If you're facing the ocean, standing on the beach, there are cliffs to your right, and there are trees to your left. There's trees everywhere, but they're all up on the ridge or there and so forth. And it's not much of a cliff, like 20, 30 feet high is about it. And you can see, of course, that behind you, the island goes all the way up to, to what was an extinct volcano, which becomes, the trees only go up most of the way, and then it becomes rock from there on.
Okay.
But even that's not incredibly high, maybe 300 feet high at the most. The tree, there's mostly palms, but there's all kinds of vegetation growing here. If you just move a little farther up the beach, you can get out of the hot sun.
Okay, so let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
What type of trees are these? Are these like?
Well, it's tropical. There's a lot of palms, a a lot of undergrowth, a lot of greenery.
Anything like coconuts growing or anything like that?
Yeah, do a spot hidden. Actually, you don't have to do a spot hidden. Yeah, you see some coconuts.
All right. I turn to Will and I say, "Well, look at that. That's a water source for us,
Mm-hmm.
and some nutrition if we need it. Um,
Did
let's
you
get
hap-
out of it. Let's
Did you
get out of
happen?
this.
I'm sorry. Did you happen to hold on to that hammer?
Probably not. Not when he was swimming.
No, I was just swimming for my life. But
Okay.
Do me. I want you both to do something for me.
Sure.
I want you to make 5 luck rolls each, and tell me how many successes you have.
Now, quick question.
Mhm.
How do I calculate my luck?
It's on the screen, isn't
Oh,
it?
is it? Oh yeah. All right. Thank you. You said make 5 of these.
Yeah, roll it 5 times and count how many successes you get.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
All right. My luck is.
Jeez.
I've got 2 successes.
Okay.
Come on.
You got an 80%. How could you not be getting all?
I know. I got an 84 and an 87 on my first 2. All right, that's better. I got an 07 for that one. 2 more. That's pass. And a pass. So 3 passes for me.
All right. While you're sitting there on the beach, trying to figure out everything that you need to do, you notice some things floating up on the beach, probably from the airplane. Well, definitely from the airplane. The first thing that comes up on the beach are a couple of seat cushions and a few other pieces of trash. Okay. Little while later, you're sitting there and there's something that looks like it's made out of red plastic, about the size of a shoebox, that's floating on the water, and it's just a little ways off the beach, but it's maybe just 10 feet into the water, where the water's only a foot or so deep. But it's bobbing there, and it might be gonna land on the beach. It might be gonna drift back out again.
I'll run out and grab it.
All right. Looks like it is a first aid kit.
Nice.
And while you're there, you can see another box a little ways out that you might have to risk the shark, but you haven't seen the shark's fin in a few minutes, so it could be somewhere else or elsewhere. But it's another box that you could probably get. It looks like it's made out of plastic or something. You gonna try for that?
I can try for that too.
How
How far out is it though?
Just you're probably going to be up to your waist in water.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I can run back if needs be.
All right.
While he's doing that, I'll keep an eye out for the shark.
All right. You don't see the shark, and you manage to get it. And what it turns out to be is the flare guns. The flare gun. You open it up. There's a flare pistol, and there are 6 flares. You also notice in your repair kit, you've got needle and thread, and you've got water purification tablets.
Okay.
All right. So now you can tell me what you do. You figure that the island, you saw it from the air. You figure it might be like maybe a 2 or 2.5 mile hike to go all the way around the island.
All right. Well, look. Your camera is broke. My journal is wet. But you still go ahead and explore and document while we're here, and try to figure out a way that we're going to get off this island in one piece.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to do before we leave, since we're on the beach, and if we have some time, maybe cut down or like break down a few branches or something like that. I'd say about a dozen, maybe a little bit more, especially with Will's help, and basically make a sign saying SOS. So just in case somebody's flying over, they might be able to see that from the air. And I also would like to build like a nice big pyre, but not have it lit yet. So just in case somebody does fly over and misses the sign, we can light it, and then somebody will come back around for us. That might be off the island.
So you're gonna take some time and try to make a sign on the beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good thinking.
It'd probably take a few hours to do something like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you're gonna go.
When we were flying, by any chance, did we have a chance to go around the island to view it first, or did we pretty much like, as we're flying past it, that's when all this happened?
No, you probably did fly around it a bit. It didn't look much different than all the other islands. At this point in your trip, it was kind of like, yeah, you've seen one island, you've seen them all. But
did we get a sense if that volcano was active or not?
Didn't look like it.
Okay.
There's no smoke, and you didn't see. It didn't look active.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So is that what you're going to spend some time doing that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the jungle proves to be not really easy to navigate because there's no trails here. It's just
It's wild.
It's all wild. And give me a Constitution roll.
Oh man, missed it by 1.
Yes.
You passed. Okay. Let's see. Bruce, as you're looking around, you're not finding a lot of dry wood. You're finding bits and pieces of chewed up, wet wood. Once you're in the jungle, everything is wet. You pick up a piece of wood and you find that there are termites, tropical termites that pretty much eat everything that's wooden. And you also get stung by something on the arm. Looks like some sort of an ant.
Oh, son of a bitch.
And it hurts, but it doesn't hurt that much.
Okay.
But yeah, there's lots of insects in this jungle. But you start gathering stuff, and after about an hour, you realize that to make a sign big enough to be seen, it's going to be quite a bit of work.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We need to get off the island, so I'm making that more or less like a priority before we start like exploring or anything like that.
Okay. Well, you do find that you're thirsty.
Yeah.
You're both thirsty.
We can hope too that Hero actually filed a flight plan before we left, but who's to say?
Well, it just looked like we hopped on his plane and just left.
You did. You just hopped on his plane and left.
I go looking for some of those coconuts.
Okay. There are coconuts fairly close. They're all over the place.
All right.
And I'll keep a sign out too for another source of fresh water.
Yeah.
Okay. I think somewhere on here is what you need to open up a coconut, because coconuts are not easy to open.
Yeah. Probably if I could smash it with a rock or something.
Well, I'll make it fairly easy. The question is do you exhaust yourself trying to break it open worse than any benefit that you get from it? And it's hot and it's humid, so you get exhausted pretty quickly. If you head over towards where the cliffs are, which is on the, I don't know how to refer to it. It's let's say that the beach is facing west, okay, which you can tell from the sun. Okay, so if you head north, you come to rocky cliffs that go up about 20 or 30 feet, and then continue with the trees.
Okay.
But if you go over there, there are enough large sharp rocks that you could probably bash the coconut against them and get them to open.
Mm-hmm.
And after doing that, it's pretty exhausting, but you think that you'll probably get better at it with practice.
Mm-hmm.
So you crack open your first coconut, and there's going to be a lot of dexterity rolls in this. You're going to roll this dexterity to see if you don't just crack it like an egg and the water just hits the ground and
make it.
Okay, so you manage to not spill the water, and you've got a good, maybe a cup of water. I've never actually done this, so I don't know how much water there is. I do know there is water.
Yeah, there's water in there.
We'll say about a cup.
Yeah, maybe a cup, maybe a little bit more, but yeah, I mean, you can, not only that, but it has the I guess what you would call the fruit on the inside, so that's edible and it's high in calories. Something else that we're going to need.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I will also say, what time of day is it?
I'm going to say it's little afternoon.
Okay. I'm going to say that I'm going to tell Will, why don't we build up a shelter? Right now, let's stay on a beach or near the beach, build a shelter, and collect a few more coconuts. We're not going to move very far today. And see if we can see any planes flying back and forth to see if there's any sort of air traffic for the rest of the day. And then tomorrow we can set out if we don't see anything. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. I think my main concern is water.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm saying here is we can spend a little time setting up a little shelter. You know, sort of, I'm not sure how cold it's going to be at night out in the open, but you need to have some sort of shelter, and just in case it starts to rain as well.
It's. I mean, you've been here a couple days, but you already knew the weather patterns. It doesn't get much below 70, ever. I mean, it never gets below 70. And oftentimes in the summer, it's still, well, you're on the equator. You're near the equator.
Okay.
So it stays in the 70s and 80s all the time.
Okay. All right.
However, it does rain a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also a source of fresh water.
Mm-hmm.
We just need something to collect it. And I mean, and hey, every time we crack open one of these coconuts, right, you can probably just hold them up or let them sit and collect water that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's smart.
And if there's any large leaves, we could use those to like help funnel it and capture it, like kind of make a cup with it.
Yep, absolutely.
Sounds smart. All right, so you've thought about water, and you've come up with probably a number of good solutions. Next problem, what are you going to do?
All right, so once we do all that and figure things out, let's say we actually look for an actual water source besides these coconuts, and depending on the rain and all that.
I'd also like to mention that while you guys were doing your work, and you didn't get very far on it, you did notice Mr. Shark swim by a few times, and he doesn't come up to the beach because he can't, but where he can swim, he does swim.
And every time he swims by, I curse at him in Japanese. Son of a bitch.
We need to learn some Japanese for this. It would be awesome. I should have looked up some Japanese curse words.
I only know the one, which is kuso, which means it can mean damn it or shit or fuck, basically. So
cool. So, anyways, okay, what's your next order of business? Let's say it's about 2 o'clock, and you guys are very hot, and you're very steamy. Your clothes are really too hot.
Or they dried off.
They're not really dry. Well, they're dry from the ocean, but they're wet from your sweat.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. All right. Let's. What do you want to do? Will, do you want to?
Well, so we got water, and we have a semi-rough shelf. Like we don't have any tools or anything, so I imagine it's just like branches and leaves piled up. Yeah. So food would be our next concern. I'm wondering, are there any like closer to the cliffs? If there's any like sort of tidal pools where there might be.
Let's do a little exploring then.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you going to head towards the cliffs?
Yeah.
All right. Well, when you were on the beach, you would have to climb the rocks. Oh, you want to pause for a second? We'll pause.
Climbing sounds like another dex roll.
No, there's a climb roll.
Oh, right.
Okay. Are you climbing?
Okay. No, what I was going to say is now when you get to the rocks, you have 2 choices that you can think of. One is you can try to climb the rocks, and there it's pretty vertical. It's not straight up and down, but it's pretty vertical, and that looks like there's probably a lot of handholds. However, the rocks are composed almost entirely of coral, and what's not coral is volcanic rock, so it's sharp. Some places almost like razor blades. However, it looks like if you walked up into the jungle, the cliffs are getting lower and lower as they go up, so you'd actually be able to skirt around.
Okay, well, we could do that. But while we're at it, since we're weaponless, are there a few like chipped rocks or coral or something like that we can pick up and make it as like a makeshift weapon?
Yeah. I mean, you could use. Well, you tell me. I mean, there's going to be sticks or pieces of tree, and there's going to be pieces of rock, fist-sized or.
Yeah. Like I try to find like a sort of a sharp piece of this rock.
There's also seashells and other things like that.
And what I'll do is I'll take something like since it's hot out here, I'll take like the sleeve of my shirt and rip it up and tear it into like strips and then sort of tie it like a makeshift handle around it.
Okay.
And I toss a piece of that cloth to Will and say, hey, just make.
I'm sorry. So what are you making? Are you making a
like a little dagger type of a thing out of?
Okay. So a knife.
Yeah, like a little knife made out of stone. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll probably try something similar, although I'll go more for like a spear, something longer.
Okay. So you make sort of a makeshift spear, and you make sort of a makeshift knife, and that's going to eat up about an hour.
Okay.
Okay. So what are you going to do?
We're
Go
gonna
from-
head towards the jungle now, right?
So, any sort of tidal pools where we might get food, or
not where you are, no.
okay,
So you head into the jungle, and it's pretty dense, but you can make your way apart. The palm trees don't all grow right up next to one another, and where they don't, there's lower growth. There's a lot of bugs, but you guys are kind of realizing that, so you're constantly brushing yourselves off.
Mm-hmm.
But you get to a place where you can probably easily climb up onto what was, where the cliff is getting shorter and shorter and shorter as you go in, and make your way up onto the cliff.
Okay.
All right, so you do that.
Are
you then heading? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
out of curiosity, Bruce, what are you carrying the flare gun with you, or leaving it in the case, like back in our camp area?
No, I'll carry it with me.
Okay. How about?
Did you load a flare into it?
I have the flares with me as well.
So how about we?
Around this case.
Oh yeah.
You're carrying around a case.
Is it like this big? Okay.
How about you carry the gun and one flare, and then we leave the other flares in the case back at the camp?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, I'll carry it just in case we do see somebody flying overhead.
That's what I was thinking, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you've left the flares back. You've got one flare and you've got the gun, and you're trying to keep it in a place that's dry.
Yeah. Although flares, I don't know about back in the 20s, but I know you can fire a flare underwater, right?
Yeah, it's magnesium. Yes, it would. I'm wrong. Yes, they don't have to be dry. But you're trying to keep it dry anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got your knife and you've got your spear, and you're heading up onto the cliff. Now, when you get to the place where you can climb up onto the cliff, do you then head back out towards the edge of the island, or do you just continue going in the jungle?
Will, what do you think?
I think maybe if we go. So if I understand it right, we walked into the jungle, which now lets us climb an easy path to the cliff, which is higher elevation.
Yeah, about 30 feet higher.
So maybe let's do that. Maybe we can go to the cliff first. That'll give us a nice view of the area.
Okay.
And we might be able to see something if there's anything to see.
Okay.
So you make your way back out to the cliff, and indeed, there's a little bit less brush up on the rocks. There's still some greenery, but there's no big palm trees right there. So you're looking back down on the crescent-shaped sort of beach that you were, and you can see where your camp is, and you can see where the airplane is in the water, and you can see that shark swimming around, and you can see that he's sort of making a circuit. He's going one way around the island, and then he's coming back the other way, and just swimming and swimming and swimming. And it strikes you still as odd that he's doing that. That it doesn't seem quite natural.
Right.
Go ahead and do a spot hidden for me, both of you.
Pass.
And I pass as well.
Okay. So as you're on the cliff, who got the better roll, actually?
Wayne did.
Wayne did? Okay. Bruce, you look over and you notice a place in the jungle, just sort of maybe 10 feet from you, where you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, that's kind of odd. It's darker there than it is in the rest of the jungle, and you suddenly realize that what you're looking at is a small cave entrance. And the plants are in front of it, so unless you were actually staring right at it, knowing what you were looking at, you wouldn't even notice that it was there.
So, I turned to Will. I said, "Do you see that down, right down there? Do you see that? Looks like a
Down,
cave."
down, like as
it's
we're
not
looking.
down. It's literally 10 feet from you, but it's to the side.
Yeah,
Uh,
like right by those looks like little trees or something like that in front of there. Do you see that? That might even serve as a better shelter.
mhm.
And if it's a cave, there might be some sort of underground water stream or water source. So
Yeah,
you wanna give it a good look.
sure.
All right.
Okay. The first thing that you notice when you approach is if there are any animals on this island, they don't go in this cave because there's plants growing right in front of it. There's no places where anything is walked in or out or anything like that.
Okay.
Um, the entrance is about maybe 7 feet high, but only about maybe 3 feet wide. So it's almost like a door. And of course, it's not a rectangle. It's
It's
it's a
circle.
hole,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And you can't see really how far in it goes because it's dark inside and it's
Oh
bright
wow.
where you are.
Yeah, we don't have a light source, do we?
No,
Nope.
no.
Hmm. We don't
What
want to go.
about just general knowledge? Is there anything that we would be aware of on these islands? Like, are there bears? Are there tigers? Or
No, there's very little because there's not that much to sustain something like that. You'll find lots of seabirds, obviously lots of bugs. And other than that, I mean, on the bigger islands, maybe. You might have seals, but there's no large predators of any
okay,
kind.
Damn it! I was hoping there were wild boar or something like that we could eat.
This island doesn't look like it could support something that big. Um, that doesn't mean they've actually just recently discovered that wild boar will actually swim from island to island, and that's how they got there in the first place.
Oh,
But
nice.
they'll be on the island for a couple of days looking for what they can find, and then they swim to some other island.
Yeah, but they're not swimming to this one, especially with that.
Well, they've been known to swim 150 miles.
No, I mean with that bastard swimming around.
Oh yeah, no. If they have, they're delicious. All right. So
All right. We gotta have to find a way to make some sort of light or have some sort of light source. Again, we don't want to go stumbling into the dark and
yeah.
um, hmm.
My character picture has glasses, but I wasn't intending to wear them. So, only other idea I know of is we could do a like the Indian style, the bow with the string.
Yeah. Um, I'm not familiar. I know about the technique, but I've never done it. So I mean, we can blunder, but um, well, let's try it then. I mean, hell, why not?
hmm So basically, I've seen it or I've read about it. Um, you just take a string, like a shoelace. You get a stick and make a bow with it, and then you get a smaller stick and you twist it once, and then you just run the bow back and forth, and that spins the stick. And then you need
Some sort of
something
handle.
hard, like a hard piece of wood with like a little groove or a hole cut.
Yeah, yeah.
so
Um,
you're gonna try to you're gonna try to make fire.
yeah, I think so.
Um, just finding the stuff that you would need to do that may prove itself extremely frustrating. Trying to find a dry piece of wood
hmm
is hard because
It's the jungle, yeah.
yeah, everything is damp and moist.
Hmm.
Are you doing all this just sitting outside the cave or standing outside the cave, or have you
Yeah,
tried
we
looking in the cave at all?
That's a good.
well, yeah. Let's look inside the cave
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it might only be 10 by 10. So.
yeah. True.
Okay, so you sort of stick your face in the cave, and it's dark, but of course once your eyes start to get used to it, and there is light coming from the entrance, um, it only goes in about 20 feet, and it opens up a little bit, but not much. Um, and yeah, I mean, you said 10 by 10. It's not much more room than you would get in a 10 by 10 room, and that's it. It just stops.
Oh, okay.
All right. Is
And
it
the
dry?
floor is mostly sand.
Okay. Anything crawling in it?
No, I mean maybe there's some spiders or something, but
Ah,
you can
spiders.
dispatch those really easily.
Okay. Um, I look to Will and I say this looks like a good this looks like a good sheltered area,
Yeah,
especially if it starts to rain.
You
absolutely.
also notice that from this vantage point, you can see the beach quite clearly. You know, just even when you're at the entrance of the cave inside looking out, you can see the beach all laid out.
So we should probably bring our camp stuff.
Yeah,
Bring the flares. Bring the. Well, I mean, we could leave the SOS out there, but.
Well,
and
you haven't come anywhere near completing the SOS.
Oh,
you
You got to
we
make it
probably
bigger
just
than.
have
You got to make a big
half
one.
of that S. Okay, so yeah, we'll go ahead and collect our gear, or the gear that we have, bring it to the cave,
Okay,
and
and this will also keep the rain off you.
hmm.
yeah, and while we're at it, we'll grab some more coconuts and stuff like that, and just stockpile them in the cave.
Okay.
And I guess that would take us about what 2 hours?
Yeah. And the sun is starting to go down, and there's storm clouds off in the distance. Um, not not the alarming kind, but you know it's probably going to rain.
Okay.
Um,
Wish we had like a tarp or something. If
yeah.
we had some sort of tarp, we could collect water. All right.
There are some big leaves, like Will said. You could
Okay.
probably makeshift something. You don't really have anything to collect it in, though.
That's what I mean. Like if we had a tarp, we could just probably hang it outside, and then the water would fall into it, and then we could.
Right.
You
In any case, that evening comes, and you guys find that you're really hungry despite having eaten a couple of coconuts.
Mhm.
Um, I hope you like coconut because I don't. Um,
I could take it or
so
leave it.
you feel, but you've drunk some water, which you collected from the coconuts, and also you put it outside in the rain so that you get a little bit of water that way. And that evening comes, and you eventually somehow manage to fall asleep, despite the fact that it's very hot and humid. Um, and you wake up the next morning, and you're pretty sore because you're laying on the ground,
Mhm.
and the
And
rocks
all
are
the
not
stuff that
exactly
we've been
soft,
through. Yeah.
and what you've all been through.
Hmm.
But despite that, probably because of the distress, the adrenaline, the shock, and all that, you find yourselves waking up just before the sun comes up. And the sun comes up in the west. The sun comes up in the east.
Hmm.
So the sun's actually coming up. The beach faces west, so it's coming up on the backside, what you'd consider the backside of the island.
Hmm.
Um, and so you're still heavy. Your cave is heavy in shadow in the mornings, which is kind of cool because it keeps it cooler than in the
Hmm.
afternoon. So day two, what would you like to do? You have not seen any airplanes.
All right. Um,
You probably realize too that yeah, there aren't any commercial airlines yet. Well, you
oh
don't
yeah,
realize yet, but
true. But I mean, you do have pilots that fly here and there, just like Hero.
Hmm.
right.
Yeah, so
Fishing
Although
boats,
you also
maybe.
notice, you also remember from your map that there ain't nothing in this direction.
true.
They'd be flying towards Hawaii or they'd be flying towards, somewhere else. So you might not be anywhere near a flight path of any kind.
True. I mean, it's always good to prepare, though. But
Sure.
um, I turn to Will and I say, "Well, you know what? Let's do a bit more exploring of this island. I mean, hell, we came all the way out here just to explore some new territory and map things out. I know you don't have your camera, but you know, um, question is, has my journal started to dry a bit?
It's drier than it was when it was soaked in the ocean, but it's the salt has made the pages curl up and there's still quite a lot of moisture in the air. So you're guessing that it's probably going to start to mildew really quickly.
Okay. Wow. $20 journal. This thing was expensive. Um,
So,
Maybe if
okay,
you set it up in the sun with some rocks like holding it down or something.
yeah,
well,
the moisture in the air though is still gonna. I mean, it'll dry out, but
if you put it on the rocks in the hot blazing sun, then maybe it'll dry out
yeah,
if it doesn't rain.
yeah, true. Because my thought was to start making a sketch of the island. Since he doesn't have a camera, we can kind of sketch it out and map it out that way too.
Okay. Well, at least for now. Did you say you were going to explore some more on the island?
Yeah.
All right. Um, what are you going to do? Which direction are you going to go? Are you going to go around? Are you going to go up? Um, are you going to go farther in? The
Let's
farther
go.
in you go, you know already that the farther in you go, the higher up you're going to go because
Okay.
wherever you are on the island, you're going to be heading towards the volcano.
Okay. Let's head up, or let's head further in. I mean, that's. I mean, I'm suggesting it,
Same
but
same thing.
Yeah, I think so. Would
okay.
we have what's the perimeter of the island like? Is it all rough and jungle and cliffs, or is it like just smooth beach all the way around?
No, from what you remember looking out the window before you almost fell,
Right.
um, this little crescent of beach is the only beach, and the rest of it is uh, either trees right down to the water. You couldn't quite tell, but it's either trees right down to the water or it's trees to the edge of a cliff that drops into the water.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking if it were easy, we could do a perimeter, but if we're going to exert ourselves, yeah, might as well head towards the top.
Okay.
But at the same time, don't exert yourself too much because we're not really like there's nothing really to find. So
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you start working your way. So you're gonna go up. Okay. So you start heading farther into the jungle, and by the time you've walked for an hour inside, the ground has gotten steep enough that you know you're going up that volcano, and you start to come to an area where there are less and less palm trees and more lower undergrowth and grasses and things like that. Um, Shortly after that, you get to a point where you can look back down the island, down towards the crescent beach where you guys were, and you can see that up ahead of you, the caldera rises. Now, it doesn't look like it ever gets so steep that you can't just walk up there. It's not going like that.
Mhm.
It's going like that. So, however, you are exerting a lot more strength. This is the ultimate stair stepper. You're going up basically like stairs at this point. And another 100 feet or so, and there's almost no plant growth, and it's all rocky. And the rocks this up here are not coral, but they are volcanic. And so you have to be careful about where you put your hands because they're sharp. So I want you to do a constitution roll to see if you get any scrapes or cuts or anything like that.
I'm good.
And what's driving you is that the summit is right there, you know. You know you're going to be there in just a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Yep, pass.
All right, so you manage not to injure yourselves. And eventually you clear the summit. And the summit is kind of like this. This is a caldera, so there it comes up to a ridge, and then it drops down into the mouth of the volcano. The interior of this is obviously a dormant or a dead volcano because inside the caldera it drops down maybe 10 feet or so, and then it's relatively flat across to the other ridge that then drops down the mountainside. It's maybe, sorry, I had the statistic here. The top of the whole thing is maybe 150 feet across. You are not on the high, and the ridge is not straight flat across like this. It kind of roughly goes up, and the highest point is actually on the other side of the caldera, and it's quite a bit higher. If you walked along the rim, you could get up there.
Okay.
Maybe it's maybe another 50 feet higher. But the caldera drops down, what did I say, about 10 feet, and then crosses. And it's rocky. There's rocks in there, and you think there might even be some pools of water in there.
Okay.
Where water's collected. But there's almost no plant life at all. A few blades of grass here and there. Maybe a lucky fern that's grasped onto a rock somewhere, but it's almost lifeless. And there's bird poop. You see a lot of bird poop. You have seen birds, by the way.
Okay.
So what would you guys like to do?
I say let's cross it and head to the other side and see if we can find anything in here of interest, like water or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Maybe some nesting birds have eggs.
Yes.
You also can see pretty much the scope of the island. You can't see all the way around it because the caldera is blocking part of your view, but you can see almost all the way around it, and you can see that it's not a huge island. All right, so you're going to climb down and cross the caldera?
Yeah.
All right. So as you climb down, you do start to see some places in the rock where water catches. However, you also notice that it's full of bird poop and dead insects and all sorts of nastiness. So not exactly sure that it's wholesome for drinking.
Yum. We only had fire.
Well, we have those tablets too.
Yeah. Not sure how many it's going to last us, but...
Right. But we can move on.
Mm-hmm.
By your estimate, because you probably did do an assessment, you have enough water purification tablets for about a month. Okay, now as you're crossing, it's not easy going because it's not perfectly flat, and there are things that pop up, and it's an uneven surface, and you have to kind of, it's almost like you're in a maze because you have to kind of wend your way around to find things or climb up on them and then climb back down, and then It's rough. But as you're going, go ahead and do a spot hidden roll for me, both of you.
Yes, 41.
All right. You both notice different things at the same time. Bruce, when you're moving around a rock and you sort of put your hand up on it. Put your hand into something that feels velvety, soft, and wet. And when you look, it's a flower, like maybe an orchid of some sort. However, there's more than one. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're in a ring. Although they're not fresh. They're not blooming. And you realize that what you've put your hand on is like a Hawaiian lei made out of flowers with a string binding them all together. It's old. It's not fresh, but it's definitely man-made. Will, what you discover is a little piece of, it looks like carved wood. And it doesn't look like it was made in a modern sense, but it looks like it was carved to be a kind of a mermaid. Though very primitive, very what you would think from like South Sea Islander carving. And that's what you find on another rock. So what do you guys do?
What's it? I turned to Will. Look at this. This this doesn't make any sense. If there's nobody here, and this, I mean, from our observations, this place isn't inhabited, and we haven't seen any sort of markings of any type of settlement or anything like that here. I mean, so far. Why would something like this be up here?
Yeah, definitely unusual. And I show them the carving too. I assume they're in the same area, right?
Right. I mean, you guys were right, almost next to each other.
Right.
Both things look like that they've been here for a long time. But about the same time, you start to notice other things, other things that were at one time probably strings of flowers, pieces of fruit, other little wooden dolls and pieces of carving, and they're in all sorts of different states. Some of them look like they've been here for a long time. Some of them look like they were a lot fresher, like maybe just a month old or a couple of months old or something like that. You find strings of flowers, you find fruit, you find little wooden carvings, different kinds of wooden carvings. You find little pots that some of them are smashed, they've fallen off the rocks they were set on. But someone is putting these things here. And you also begin to realize that there is a pattern to it. That there is a place in the caldera about 10 feet away where there is like a crack or a crag or something like that, where the caldera opens up and there's it's as if you were there's a hole that goes down, and it's almost as if you were on the top of a building looking down a chimney. And these objects are placed in various positions all around it. I mean, they're not placed like at the compass points or anything. They all seem to be scattered around this hole. And the hole's about 10 feet across, and the walls inside the hole drop straight down, like a lot of volcanic rock is from the lava going straight up. So when it solidifies, it's all in crystals going straight up and down. So these have broken away, and there's a hole that's going straight down. But you see that it goes down maybe 10, 15 feet, and then it turns. It begins to drift off of straight and very quickly disappears out of sight. But it looks like it keeps going. So you can't see all the way down, but you can see about 15, 20 feet down.
Is the inside of this hole smooth? Is it?
It's pretty smooth. Yeah, it's pretty smooth. It's not flat, but it's as if, imagine taking a whole bunch of, I don't know how to say it, like a bunch of crystals and then punching a hole in it, and they're a little jagged, but there's no way that you could climb down there. It's sheer drop. No handy holds.
Do
a listen roll.
Well, I make that.
Oh, you made 13. That's a good roll.
Yeah, I got it.
All right. You notice that you can hear the ocean, which you haven't heard for a long time going up the jungle. The ocean's a long way. I mean, it's not a long way, but it's a long way away from where you are. Mm-hmm. But inside this hole, you can hear waves. So something is... Maybe it goes down to a chamber that's filled with seawater and the water is sloshing around, but you can definitely hear the ocean from here.
It's unusual.
Yeah. We can't even really tell which direction it slopes off at, do we?
Right. Well, I mean, you can see that it's probably... Based on the beach, it's sloping off probably to the north, but you don't know what it does once it goes down. It could twist around or open up into a big cave,
and it looks natural, right? It's not man-made.
Correct. It looks natural.
I say let's climb up this little ridge here and face north to see if we can see anything. We should have more of a clear perspective up there. So
okay. So you climb up to the highest point of the ridge, and you can see pretty much the whole island laid out, but it looks pretty much the same as everywhere. It's just green, right down to the water. It's also kind of fairly symmetrical. I mean, this is a cone sticking up out of the ocean. And there's a little bit on it where you've got a beach, but the rest of it is just basically going right down to the water. You can also see that the atoll going all the way around. If you try a natural history roll, just in case.
I have really tried.
Nope. Close, but no cigar.
No, 14's really good. You can guess that this, if you think about the way volcanoes might work, this is the cone that came up after a bigger volcano probably collapsed, because that ring that's out there, where the reef is probably the original ridge, and then the volcano collapsed, and then this one came up out of the center of it and then died, because that ring is pretty regular with the shape of the island itself.
Like
all right,
concentric.
Yeah, I mean it's not something unusual because you see it on a lot of the islands.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is there any way to tell, like, so we can see the ocean. Can we tell from the timing of that what we heard? You know what I'm trying to say?
You're trying to hear about the like the tides, if there's a tide coming in and out
Like this
or something.
tunnel that we found, does it lead all the way out to the actual ocean, or does it, like, does the water sound seem to match up? If that makes sense.
No, because you don't really even see. There's almost no wave action
Right. Okay.
inside the reef. Maybe there could be where there's more cliffs right where the water is, but you can't really see that from where you are.
Okay. Well, I'm hopeful because at least we've discovered signs of human activity. So
Yeah.
maybe somebody's coming out here and visiting on a regular basis. I mean, it might be a monthly regular basis, but
Do a history roll for me now.
Yes, I have points in that. Let's see. What's my history? Okay. Yes, I made that by half.
Well, I'll remind you then that there are a lot of native tribes that live out here in the islands, many of which are headhunters and cannibals.
oh, great. My hopes just dashed.
You were hoping they would invite you over for dinner, huh? But you,
Although, I'll still be hopeful because they still might have boats or canoes or something, because they might be going from island to island.
yeah.
Trying to
Yeah. Okay, so we are trapped on an island, surrounded by people who like to eat other people.
Now, we are unfortunately constrained for time in playing this game. So I apologize before I ever started this game with you guys that I might have to push you a little forward. So let us assume that you have managed as best you can to survive on this island for a while, at least a couple of weeks. By now, you have discovered the cliffs on one side where there are birds, and you can occasionally get eggs. However, the birds don't like that, so you've suffered a few minor injuries. You have caught a few of the birds and managed to eat them, but you've also caught a couple of fish, but you are afraid of that shark, and that shark seems determined to stick close to the island and come around whenever you're in the water. You've actually discovered that in a pinch, bugs are pretty good. You don't like the flavor necessarily, but it's growing on you. And it's turned out to be probably a more solid source of protein for you. Nevertheless, you've suffered. I want you to each reduce your constitution by 10%. So it's gone down a little bit. Now, you have you guys can add to this because we're skipping ahead like 2 weeks. The idea of a signal fire. The main problem is that it keeps raining. You're pretty sure that with a flare you could get a signal fire lit. You're pretty sure that you could shoot the signal. I mean, you could shoot the flare into the air too if you saw anything. So far, you've seen no airplanes, no boats, no nothing, and you've spent days up on the ridge watching. Since there's no airplanes, you kind of abandoned the whole SOS thing on the beach.
Yeah.
But you did take a bunch of wood up onto the caldera itself, and you're thinking that at that highest point there's kind of a flat area that if you're going to light a fire, that's where you're going to light it to get attention. You're getting really sick of coconuts, and I'd like you each to do a sanity roll.
I was just thinking, Bruce is starting to look like a hamburger every time I look around.
Oh man, I failed that one.
68 is also a fail for me.
Okay. At this point, go ahead and do a D6.
Oh, hell's bells.
Uh-oh. Yeah, 5.
1.
Okay. So Jeff, you
I really
are
like a hamburger.
Will. You've taken this whole thing pretty hard. You've tried to keep a stiff upper lip, but you've decided that Bruce is just not companionship enough. So you've using your skills with the knife that you created, you've made yourself a couple of coconut friends that you have conversations with. Bruce, you're starting to think maybe that's not such a bad idea, because like when Will starts to get a little pissy, at least he can go vent with his friends, the Coconut Gang. And maybe you'll make yourself a Coconut Gang pretty soon, too. Anyway, so that's the manifestation of your your sanity loss. At this point, you're not sure that you're ever going to get rescued at this point, because you also have noticed that you've been keeping track of the days in whatever way. Maybe you've taken little rocks and made a row of rocks and so forth.
Scratch them into the cave wall.
But this night, you guys are in your cave, and you're not really fighting with one another. You fought for a couple of days, and you realize that you really need one another to keep from dying. Each of you has your own skills that you're really helpful with. This evening, you guys are sitting in front of your cave, and it's about maybe an hour after sundown, but the full moon is out, and it's very bright, and the sky is clear. It's not raining tonight. And you notice there's something out in the ocean heading your way. And you can see it because there's torches on it.
Oh, shit.
And as it gets closer, you realize that it looks like a native canoe. It's a big one. And there are 8 people inside the canoe. There's one guy up in the front, and he looks like he's got some sort of a feather thing on his head. And there are 6 strong men behind him rowing, and there is somebody else in the back of the boat, and they appear to be tied up and struggling. You see the boat approach the reef, and it crosses the reef. Note also, it's a full moon. It is high tide right now. It crosses the reef at a low point where there's a way that they can get through. And the shark, which has proved such a crazy monster to you all this time, completely ignores the canoe.
Oh,
Um,
Shark's such a hater. Jeez.
they the canoe pulls forward and lands on the beach, and the guy in the front with the headdress gets out, and the big men get out with him, and they grab this tied up person, and it's a man, and he seems to be struggling, but they're taking him, and they then walk into the jungle, heading towards the caldera. What do you guys do?
Hey, you want to follow? See what these guys are up to? Maybe. Or should we just take their boat and get the hell out of here?
Hmm. All of them left the boat down there?
Yes.
Man. I mean, I'm definitely curious, but yeah, you just put a boat there in front of me.
Yeah. And it just seems like the shark isn't out there. Or do we still see like the fin?
Oh,
sort
the
of-
shark's out there. Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
In fact, he's hanging around where that part of the it's not really a lagoon, is it? It's the inner reef area.
Just taunting us.
Yeah, like I dare you to get on the boat.
Exactly.
What if you shot a flare in its mouth? Chew on that. I don't know. You know what? Maybe these are the guys who are leaving this stuff there. They look like cannibals to me.
You can also hear them. They're chanting something as they're going through the jungle. And you can see where they are because they have torches.
Do they look like they have weapons on them?
Possibly. It's hard to tell, but maybe there's some spears there.
Well, I think we're clearly outnumbered,
Yep.
and they are big, so I don't think I'm ready to try and. What if we go down to the canoe and at least look? Maybe there's other supplies in the canoe.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay. So you make your way down to the canoe, and the canoe is sitting there, but the oars are missing. You think now that they took the oars with them.
Son of a bitch.
It's like they took the keys of the car.
You know what? How big is this canoe?
It's pretty big. There were 8 people in it.
I was going to say,
It's heavy.
these bastards, we should sink it or like set it on fire or something, or like, just like take it and like hide it somewhere.
Shove
I
it
don't
off. Shove it off into the ocean. We're stuck here. They're gonna be stuck here. Serious? Is that what you're doing? Or?
I'm suggesting it.
Yeah. No, that might be shooting us in the foot.
Yeah. Well, how about this? These guys seem to have taken the oars with them. I'm about damn tired of coconuts and talking to a bunch of coconuts and watching you talk to a bunch of coconuts.
My buddy Wilson.
You're Wilsons. How about this? We pretty much got to know this island pretty well while we've been here. They're heading up towards the caldera. Why don't we follow? But why don't we keep our distance, see what they're doing, and if they happen to leave their oars lying around or whatever, we can sneak those things away and hop on a boat.
Okay. So you're going to follow them up the caldera.
Yeah.
Cautiously.
Cautious.
Takes about an hour, but you follow them all the way up, and you find a place where you can sort of hide on the ridge, and they can't see you. You see them go to where that hole is, and they produce gifts that lays they were wearing, or flowers, or you see them laying stuff on the rocks, and the priest, the shaman, is chanting something and raising his hands up like this and facing towards the moon, and you see them shove their victim into the hole and hear the guy scream as he falls. And you hear them all, they're all sort of swaying and chanting while this is going, and you can hear, because you're not that far away, you can hear the sound of a splash a couple seconds later, and struggling, and then there is the sound of, it sounds like some sort of an animal sound, and their chanting increases, and it reaches a sort of a climax, and then they fall silent, and they stand there for a couple of seconds, and then they turn around and start walking back to their boat.
Okay. Yeah. Well, these guys didn't eat that poor fellow, but something did.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I didn't slip and fall into that hole.
Mm-hmm.
And they walk, you can see them walk back down, and they eventually get to their canoe, and they climb back in the canoe, and they row away back through the little gap that they found in the thing. The shark leaves them completely alone, and they head off into the distance. And that's where we'll leave it until next week.
All right.
I hate that shark.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, next week we're going to play on Thursday.
Okay.
So, thank you guys for showing up, and thanks to all of our viewers for watching. We hope you enjoyed our game session. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you liked our show, please give us a thumbs up. We will be playing next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time instead of Horror on the Orient Express, which we won't play again until May 5th. So for the next, it'll be the next episode of The Island next week. Until next time, always remember, if there's no light left to guide your path, your only choice is to venture into the darkness. Good night, good gaming.